Professor Xavier. The professor! Roll the intro!
Let's do it.
There it is. Hey, all right, we're back. All right, let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. We hope it is good. Welcome to another episode of Geeks Who Like Sports. I jumped the gun a little bit. As always, I'm Ray Carcillo in beautiful Los Angeles, California.
You're excited, Ray. You're
my
excited
best friend, the entire world over in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Elias, don't interrupt the intro. Let's go, baby. Yeah! Happy Tuesday.
Wow,
What's
Ray.
up?
Ray is ready to go. I interrupted the intro, Ray, but that's the point. You know, I got to say this. We've been doing this show a long time.
Yes.
Our opening music is kick-ass music. It's really good. Every week I hear that.
Our special guest, Race the Cane, has talked about it the episode last week. If you haven't checked out that leaderboard interview, please do so. Yeah, we've got the best podcast music in the business.
Yeah, we really do. I mean, I love that song. It never gets old. I mean, it might be what it inspires. I mean, like spending a few hours with your best friend talking about sports and geek stuff is pretty cool to begin with. Yeah. But I've always loved that song. I mean, I think that the only other song I could listen to on repeat like that one is Hypnotized by Notorious B.I.G. Do you know the Notorious B.I.G., Ray? I remember my mother said that to me one time. I was like, yes, I know Biggie Smalls' mom. I believe it's the Notorious B.I.G. and his friend Puff Daddy, who we will never speak about again.
No.
Ray, you didn't ask, but I'm doing great. Really beautiful spring weather here in Philadelphia. But our non-sponsor of the week, I get to do almost like a local home shout out today. You'll know this one. And I don't want any jawing today about sheets, because today we're talking about Wawa. For those of you outside,
I knew it was going to be Wawa.
Yeah. For those of you outside, kind of the Philadelphia area or Florida for some reason, Wawa is a staple in our communities here. It's like a Sheetz. The best explanation I've given, it's not great, but it's like a gas station kind of supermarket. That's the best thing you've ever seen of that style. But they make hoagies, which is what they're called, sandwiches. It's a place we all go, and they're celebrating their 60th anniversary. And Ray, you can tell by looking at this cup. They did a whole thing, a throwback coffee.
I was going to say that's a retro cup. That's a retro Wawa.
And are you ready for this? No joke, free coffee all day, day. You can walk in, get a coffee, and walk out, and no one's stopping you, right? With the retro cups, and I picked this cup. It's funny because they had cups from the 2000s, and I'm like, oh, that's the last one they did. And then our producer Caitlin reminded me, no, that's like 2 cups ago. Like, this was yesterday. It really wasn't. It was like 25 years ago. It was really painful. But this is the one that I grew up with in the 80s and the 90s. So I got an extra one. You can see it on set here somewhere. Might be hiding right now. But Wawa is going to be our non-sponsor today, because for my 40 years, this has been a staple in my life. I've always looked forward to it. Now, one tip for the wise here, Ray. I had a friend who very ill-advisedly went to a Wawa in Florida and said, well, I'm going to get a Philly cheesesteak.
No.
And first off, not only did they horrendously order it wrong, they got salt, pepper, and oregano on it. They put mayo on it, which is like, Wawa lets you customize.
Blasphemous.
Yeah, it was weird. Look, you don't ever get a Philly cheesesteak at Wawa unless you want a Wawa cheesesteak. I'm trying to say it's its own food group.
Well, and especially in Florida.
Yeah, it was really weird. I mean, to be fair, he regretted it. He put it online. He said he made a mistake. I appreciated that as a Philadelphian.
Yeah, I mean, at least he learned his lesson the hard way.
It was brutal. It was really brutal. His whole family was like, this is disgusting. I'm like, please do not judge cheesesteaks on what your husband has just done. But I will say this, and this is what we say here. Is a Wawa hoagie the best hoagie you're ever going to have? No. But it's a Wawa hoagie. It's like its own thing. You know exactly what you're going to get. No. Right? So I've always appreciated that. It started out Wawa, Ontario is where the name comes from. That's why they have the Canadian geese on that logo, which is their staple. I love the brown, yellow, for those of you watching or listening, brown, yellow, and red, kind of that 70s, 80s, 90s look. But it's been a staple of my life, and I wanted to give them a shout out. So Wawa, you are our non-sponsor of the day. If you would like to be the sponsor of this show, Wawa, we will do some really fantastic things. Ray, also, for the sports aspect of this, every year they do Schwarberfest.
Yep.
Which is amazing to me. They do Hoagie Fest every year. It's just a really cool place. And again, I'm not knocking Sheetz, or I'm not knocking Jack in the Box. I don't know what the other local places are around the country. But Wawa has really, really got a special place in my heart. So Wawa, first store opened April 16th, 1964. It is April 16th, 2024. Congratulations, Wawa, on 60 years. I love everything that you do. I really mean that. Thank you for the free coffee. Okay.
I wish I had free coffee. I have water. I have water today.
Ray, if you come and live in this office, I mean that literally, free coffee forever. Coffee.
That is tempting. That's a huge expense for me saved. That is an interesting.
If you were to live here for 172 years, the free coffee would pay for your living expenses.
There you go. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to last that long, especially if I could drink that much coffee. So,
ooh, that's a paradox, isn't it? Well,
it is.
There's only one way to find out, Ray.
Yes. I think I'm not going to test that particular hypothesis.
Welcome to Geeks episode 10,032. Today we're talking about Sonic the Hedgehog 47.
Yeah. We do have it's not episode 10,000, but we do have a big show for you today, folks. We got a lot to talk about. Obviously, we've got X-Men. We've got Sonic the Hedgehog. We've got Star Wars. We've got, obviously, all the sports. Actually, we got a little bit of baseball. We got a little bit of hockey. We got a little bit of basketball. We got a little bit of wrestling. But we are going to kick off with hockey and basketball because it is playoff season. We'll start with NHL first because it's playoffs. It is playoff time. It is playoffs.
I don't want to talk about NHL playoffs right now, Ray.
Yes. It is a bit of a mixed bag because I will say this. The one thing, everybody knows, I love hockey, but I will say
say that again?
I love hockey. Not as much as, you live
no,
hockey.
No. I just want to get you saying I love hockey recorded so that when anything bad happens in hockey, which I'm not wishing upon you, and you go, I hate hockey, I'm going to play that audio of like, no, Ray, you love hockey.
For the most part, I do love hockey. But I will say the one thing that they don't do as well as every other sport is the last day of the season. Football at this point, baseball, basketball, there is one final day, everybody plays, and then you know what the playoff picture is.
Right.
And NHL has more like the last week of the season.
That's true. Very true.
Where several teams finished their season yesterday.
Or last few days of the season, yeah.
Yes, it's and to me, I think that is one thing that would really benefit hockey going forward. I know honestly, I complain about the schedule all the time, and I do believe that hockey has some of the worst schedule makers. Like, honestly,
if I told you how they used to do it when I worked at the NHL, you'd be both shocked and like, yeah, no, I believe it.
I mean, probably.
It was really, I was like, this is how you make the schedule? Like yeah.
This is a thing that you could use AI for, right? This is a thing where this would be a good use of AI, is to fix the schedule and maybe tweak it afterwards after you see everything. But yeah, last 4 days of the season, some teams still have 2 games in hand. Some teams wrapped up yesterday. It's kind of a mess.
Well, let me paint a picture, if I may, Ray. So the Philadelphia Flyers, my team, interesting position right now. Very low chance they're going to make it. But to make it, they have to win their final game against the Washington Capitals, and the Detroit Red Wings and Pittsburgh Penguins both have to lose in regulation their final game. Very simple the way I've said it. The problem is we play the Capitals tonight. Detroit plays tonight. And then the Penguins play tomorrow night when we're recording this.
Yes.
So even if the Flyers are in a position tonight after they win and the Red Wings lose, if that should happen, then we have to wait 24 hours for the Penguins to play.
Which is horrible.
Which is brutal. It's just a brutal place to be. And by the way, it's the same thing reversed for the Capitals, I believe, right? So
that's on the other end is if the Capitals win, that's it. They are the ones who control their own destiny of the 4 remaining teams.
Right, because that's their 82nd game. Yes.
Right, yes. If the Capitals win, that's it. It's over. They win because they would have a 3-point edge on Pittsburgh, and they have the tie breaker with Detroit, right? So no matter what happens, Washington wins, they're in, which also, again, brings up the point that tomorrow's game for Pittsburgh means absolutely nothing.
Right.
It's worthless hockey. In fact, the last day of the season is all Western Conference games that mean virtually nothing. I think one game might affect seeding, and that's it. So again, this goes to my point that there's a problem.
That's inevitable, right? It's inevitable, but I think you're right. If there was a one day where all 32 teams play, and look, they've already set up the infrastructure for that with Frozen Frenzy.
I was going to say they've done that before,
right?
During the course of the regular season.
The season should start and end with that. You should bookend that, and if it happens during the season, that's great too.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And I think that's why, going forward, that's my one complaint about hockey is always the schedule. And definitely with this. But your Flyers still have a chance. If they win, and then Pittsburgh, if they win in regulation, and then Pittsburgh and Detroit both lose.
Look, I'm going to talk about the Flyers real quick, if that's okay. Let's just talk again. It is April 16th. The NHL season ends in a couple days. So on the following episode from when you're hearing this, we'll have a actual playoff overview, okay? Because there's still some spots there. I don't want to get into it before it's closed.
Yes. Although the Rangers have won the President's Trophy, that is official. That is locked in.
Yes, and I am going to say this about the Rangers real quick, Ray. Typically a kiss of death. I really believe in the New York Rangers this year. I see something there. There's a lot of teams that can win the Stanley Cup this year. I'm not like every time I bring this up, the Rangers, no way, this team, that team, this team. Like, yeah, I know, guys.
Of course, anything can happen. A lot can happen. A lot can happen in 4 rounds of the playoffs.
I have the guts to put out there publicly, because most of you don't, that I believe that the New York Rangers are very capable of winning the Stanley Cup this year. And I am picking them to go to the Stanley Cup final against the Colorado Avalanche, right? Those are my picks as of today. Well, again, we'll get into that next week a little bit.
Yeah.
President's Trophy, typically kiss of death.
Yes.
But I just really like what I'm seeing from that New York Rangers team. And I think that a lot of people are forgetting that should Igor Shesterkin just not play well,
sure,
you have a very proven goalie behind him
in Quick, who has played great this year. Finished the season on a 9-2 run. By the way, our backup goalie had 18 wins. Right. This is, by the way, I'm going to let you talk about your Flyers. This is the most wins and most points in Ranger history.
Yeah.
This is the best regular season for the New York Rangers ever.
Yeah. And unless the players shit the bed, I'm just going to use that term.
Absolutely. Like, we've seen Panarin disappear before. We've seen this happen. Like,
yeah. I mean, and here's the thing too. I just think I like the way that team plays hockey this season. That's all I'm trying to say. Carolina, Boston, a few other teams absolutely could be there. You get dark horse teams. I'm just saying, you know what? You're putting the water gun to my head. I'm picking the New York Rangers out of the Eastern Conference. That's me.
Me
all right?
too.
And if you can disagree with me, comment whatever you want. But if you're not going to have the guts to say what you think, just shut up. Okay. Yes. Moving on to the Flyers, kind of, I'll say now my end of the season review, because they're not going to make the playoffs, barring a miracle here. I'm really disappointed, and not as a fan. I always start these things with this, prefacing it. I'm not in the locker room. I don't know what's going on, but I thought about it. And typically, Ray, I take a pretty optimistic, positive point of view with most things. And I think I've been that way when they made a lot of moves. They got a tall goaltender, and it's killing me because I hear people blaming John Tortorella that he did something. No, I'm not blaming the coach. You go on an 8-game losing streak, or 2-8 to finish the season, basically. I know there was an overtime loss in there.
Right.
That is unacceptable for your players, in my mind. Now, I know several of them have been injured. I know there have been things moving around, and I don't care. I don't care. Because if you want to win a Stanley Cup, you are going to face adversity like that. You think you're injured now in the regular season, which they are. Wait till round 3. When your arm is broken and you have to keep playing. Okay? So, no, I'm putting this on the athletes. And I think John Tortorella pointed out that we don't have the mentality for playoff hockey in this locker room. Now, if that hurt those players enough that they couldn't keep playing, if that's what they took that as, which I hope they didn't. I hope they took it like men or adults.
Yeah.
They don't deserve this at all.
Yep.
But no, as a fan, as someone who watches hockey, it is inexcusable to have a run like that to finish the season when you are comfortably in a playoff position before that, by the way. And then on top of it, and this is my experience talking, the seasons I hate the most are the ones where you come close to something, and then I have to hear a player as a coach say, "Yeah, man, we were so close." Do not tell me that after the season when we've been saying it the whole season.
Right.
John Tortorella's words to that team was a warning to me, from my point of view. Wake up. You can lose this thing.
Yep.
So I predicted correctly at the start of the season, you can go back to the beginning of the show, that the Flyers will flirt with the playoff spot.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they're doing. I just didn't think the flirting would be a catfish situation for me as a fan.
Yeah.
Okay. I am very happy long-term macro with where the team is at. Yes. I am. Okay, I can't sit here and not say that.
Yeah.
But as I am so disappointed in this end of the season as a coach.
Yeah.
Fully admitting I'm not in the room. And I know that these are professionals. But if they're not looking each other in the eye, thinking, what the hell did we just do wrong? What did we miss? And they better use this for fuel next year.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say. Last thought, Ray. Guaranteed 3 to 5 of these guys in the locker room gone in the offseason.
Absolutely.
Based on this performance, The guys who did not step up right now, gone.
Yep.
And this is all part of the building process for this team to become a playoff contender, which they will be.
Yep.
But I am very disappointed in my hockey team right now. And I don't usually talk like this. You know that.
Yep.
But I think we have a right to be pissed, especially after the Eagles class.
Well, I mean, you guys, you guys were third in the Metro. Yeah. Barely, but yes. But you were third in the Metro the whole year.
Until 190 days straight. Yeah.
Until the last 2 weeks of the season. And you lost, like you said, you lost, I think it was 7 in a row. I think you had one overtime loss in there.
It's like 2-7-1. It's just it's inexcusable for this time of the year. And the two wins have come recently. Right?
And to be fair, they did. You beat the Rangers. You beat the Rangers to kind of wake back up.
I mean, think about that from our point of view. It's like, oh, okay, you guys showed up now. You couldn't beat the worst team in the league 2 games ago.
Yeah, you lost. I'm disappointed Columbus in there. You lost some bad games in there.
And look on the off shot. You're listening to this next week, and it's a miracle, and they made the playoffs, which isn't. I just don't believe that's going to happen. I think the Penguins are 100% going to win their final game, no matter what.
Yeah.
I just think that I'll be excited. Like, you want to do the hindsight thing, but it's just like I'm still disappointed at the end of the season. Like, you cannot do that. This is where warriors are made. Like, Rangers, Islanders. You look at some of these teams in the playoffs where they could totally just lay down right now.
Yep.
They're not doing it.
Yeah.
Right? The last Rangers game, Islanders early in the week was like a playoff game. It didn't need to be.
Yeah.
You're both in.
Yeah.
Right? It felt like a playoff game.
Yep. Went to a shootout. Yep.
By the way, shout out to our friend Ray Santiago. I saw him on the TV. I asked if it was him. It was him. That was pretty cool to see. But like, my point is, like, people say, well, they can just lay down, they can undress. Yeah, look, maybe in game 82, they might not dress their starters. The guys are still going to play hard because they're a deep, strong hockey team. So that's my message to the.
Well, and that's the thing. The Rangers came out and shut out Ottawa 4-0 because they're like, we want the President's Trophy.
They're still playing.
Want it. We want this.
Still playing.
Shesterkin threw it. Yeah, I mean, Shesterkin got a shutout. Like, it might have been his best game. Honestly, this is the Rangers now. Honestly, now they have momentum and a couple of days off.
You're doing it at the right time. And that loss to the Flyers, believe it or not,
woke them up.
I think so, because you played the Rangers played horrible in that game.
It was a terrible game for them. They played awful.
They totally overlooked us. I mean, you could see it. And sometimes that's a gift. So if the Rangers win the Stanley Cup with the assist going to the Philadelphia Flyers, no, I'm just kidding. I believe this is the Rangers' year, Ray. And again, I'm putting it out there that I've a very low chance of picking this correctly. I'm putting it out there. The Rangers are my cup pick against the Colorado Avalanche.
Me too. Fingers crossed. Please let us win the cup.
Yeah.
So that's hockey right now. Again, like Lee said, we're gonna have a full playoff breakdown because we don't even know who the Rangers are gonna play in the first round. It could be the Flyers or Detroit or Washington. I'm actually picking Detroit tonight. I think you guys will beat Washington, but I don't think Detroit will lose to Montreal.
Yeah, well, it depends on what the Canadiens team shows up.
Yeah, even from yesterday, is it the Canadiens team that jumps out to a 4-2 lead, or is it the Canadiens team that blows that 4-2 lead and loses in overtime?
It's also a team that beat us 9-2 the other week, so I just don't know who's going to show up. And look, here's the thing too, for those fans out there, speaking as a coach, it's real easy to look and say, oh, well, they have nothing to play for. Sometimes you play way better when you have nothing to play for, and if the other team's got something to play for, they can be real tight. That can go both ways too. So just don't ever count anybody out. You just don't know who's going to win a game till it's played.
Absolutely. Moving on to the NBA. The NBA, everything is locked in on after Sunday. We know who the teams are. The Knicks actually went on a run there at the end, and the Knicks are the 2 seed in the East. Didn't see that coming. I thought a home playoff series for sure, but the 2 seed. My prediction a few weeks ago that it's going to be Knicks and Celtics in the Eastern Conference Final. I still don't believe anybody's going to beat the Celtics. I really don't, barring injury or unforeseen circumstances. But the Knicks look good, and the Knicks will now play the winner of the Sixers and Heat play-in game.
Right.
Lee, speaking of Philadelphia, I'm not. Do you think first off? I think your Sixers will beat the Heat, but no offense, I do not think you beat my Knicks. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are this. It all comes down to Joel Embiid, and if he shows up. If he shows up, he can beat your Knicks. Actually, he can beat them very handedly.
Well, especially with Julius Randle hurt for the whole playoffs. The Knicks are very banged up right now. So, but Jalen Brunson, Jalen Brunson making it the last time the only 2 players to have a season like Jalen Brunson, just to put this in perspective, folks, was Steph Curry's MVP year in 2015 and Larry Bird's MVP year, I believe, in 1986. So when Jalen Brunson, when you're in the conversation with Steph Curry and Larry Bird, I think he's going to get a few MVP votes, Lee. He might not win it because a lot of folks don't love to hate on the Knicks, but
for sure. Yeah.
There's no denying he's having a phenomenal year. And if he continues to play the way he's been playing, he could just carry the Knicks at least into the second round.
Yeah, for sure. Like, this is where big players got to be big players. And
Yes.
Come back to this. Embiid has been pretty prolific the last 10 games. So we'll see what happens. This is exciting. But like, when it comes to basketball, buddy, it's always, for me, it's like, can anybody knock off Boston? Say OKC's had a great season. I mean, Denver really is a team to beat right now. I mean, they could easily
defending champs.
Yeah. So we'll see as they go through. But again, Embiid came back. The Sixers just got right back to the top of that play-in pool, and we'll see what happens. Yeah. I like postseason basketball. It's the regular season I have a hard time with.
Yeah. No, I agree. And all the California teams are in the playoffs. The Clippers are the highest seed. They're the 4. I actually think the Clippers could do some damage this year in the Western Conference. And for everybody who thinks that the Warriors or Lakers, who are respectively the 10 and 8 seeds, are going to do anything, I think you're crazy. Warrior, I'm sorry. I don't think we're going to get what we had last year, where Miami won their play-in game and then went on their ridiculous run to win the entire East. I don't think we're going to have that this year. Could it happen? Sure. Is it going to? I say no. I don't think any of these play-in teams, and again, no offense to your 76ers in the East or the West, are going to have deep runs.
No, it's all about X factors for those teams, right?
Yeah.
And again, it's like, does somebody go to it? And it's like a goalie in the NHL playoffs. If a goalie shows up and doesn't let anything in the net, I mean, you're going pretty far.
Right.
It's just that we've seen that happen. We've seen J.S. Shiger like 20 years ago, man. Like,
for the Ducks,
took the Ducks all the way to the final. They had no place being in the final that year.
Yeah.
Right. And they only lost the final by 1 goal. It's just like crazy. You know what I mean? So amazing.
Absolutely. It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting to see for sure. One team not in the playoffs is the Utah Jazz.
Yeah.
But Utah might be getting something else very soon.
I know. I actually think this is a good move.
Finally, the Arizona Coyotes are leaving
hockey
the desert.
Has come back to Utah, where it's never been before.
Yes. No, Coyotes are going to Utah. They are going to change their name by all. It sounds like they're going to drop the Coyotes thing.
Well, let me tell you what's going on with this, Ray, because it's actually pretty unique. So the Coyotes team, the team in Phoenix or Arizona right now, is going to Utah next season. I believe they're going to play out of Salt Lake City. They will have a new team. They will be a new team, not an expansion team, but a new team.
Yeah.
The owner of the Coyotes has very intentionally retained the name and branding to the Coyotes with the intention, I'm not saying this is going to happen, this is real though, Ray, with the intention of creating a expansion franchise called the Phoenix Coyotes. It's funny to say it like that. But the NHL might be expanding to 34 teams. This is not a joke.
Yes, that's true. I've heard that as well.
Yeah, so Utah will have a team.
Yeah.
It's believed the Arizona Coyotes will come back, or the Phoenix Coyotes. I think Atlanta is looking again, believe it or not.
Oh God, no.
You think that 2 times is a charm, but
no.
And then there's also other cities out there looking at for.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. There's Kansas City that's been begging for a team for forever. Like there's so many other places you could go. You could go to Portland maybe and have that natural rivalry with the Kraken and the Canucks. Like what? Don't go back to it. And this is no offense to Atlanta, but look, like you said, Lee, they've had teams twice. They failed both times.
Well, listen, you'd have to. I believe that hockey can work in Atlanta if it is marketed correctly. And the problem that with the Thrashers and the Flames was they were never marketed correctly to that audience.
Yeah.
And there's too much love for the Hawks and the Falcons, right, and the Braves, understandably. Right, that the hockey team is always a good distance fourth teams. I wouldn't be surprised if their soccer teams actually are way ahead. So if it's marketed correctly, because there's a lot of money in Atlanta, Ray, a lot of money. Of
course, yeah, absolutely.
It's just got to be done right.
Could Houston get hockey?
Sure, of course,
because that's the one sport that city's missing. So
I think that
Houston,
the Dallas
Stars
is the fourth
largest market now.
Dallas and several other teams have proven that hockey can work in that region.
Absolutely.
Texas is big enough for that as well. I mean, we know Gary Bettman loves the South. So, But the NHL is looking to be the first 34 team league in America. I think that they've proven with the Kraken and the Vegas Golden Knights that they know what they're doing. I mean, they know what they're doing with expansion now.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think hockey going to 34 and then probably eventually 36 teams.
Yeah.
Right. This way you'll have 18 in each conference, I think is I'm looking forward to it. And look, as long as the cities can support it, I'm all for it. So
yeah.
I definitely think it's good. Yes, absolutely. A couple of rumors about who the Utah, we're going to have a fun mashup with this later on, but there's a couple of rumors about who the Utah hockey team might be called. A couple of front runners, the Yeti, the Blizzard. Honestly, I like both those. There's also the rumor about there being called the Utah Eagles.
Yeah,
which nobody wants to see more Eagles, but
we don't need any Eagles.
We don't need that, but a possibility. I guess there's Eagles in Utah and the Rocky Mountains. It makes sense to a degree. Probably bald eagles or something, maybe. But but yeah, that's with Zavi there with the great title there, Yeti and Blizzard and Eagles.
Oh my!
You're watching the show, Professor X Xavier on the keys there with the titles. Oh
my! Yeah, I'm just looking up. I just searched Ray. What's great about Utah? I just wanted to see what would come up.
Well, their state bird is the seagull. Well, I don't think that's going to work.
Well, what's funny is there's. It could be the Utah Mormons. That's one of the. Apparently,
there was a rumor that somebody was politicking for the Utah Stormin' Mormons. I do not think they are going to go with that name. However,
what's that logo? It's a guy with 12 wives.
Well, I mean, at least they'll fill the arena pretty easily.
It's true. A lot of national parks there. Yes. So there's a lot of things they could do there. I don't know where they would go with that. It's state bird, common American gull. Why?
Yes.
Why?
So
why did you pick that?
So seriously, I looked this up. The only reason why I knew this off the top of my head is I looked this up because baseball is also talking about expanding the 32 teams, and Utah is also on the list there. Yeah. And the reason why the seagull is Utah's state bird is something like, I think it was like 80 years ago, there was a massive locust infestation in Utah. And what happened was that all the seagulls from the California coast figured this out and migrated for a season to Utah and ate all the locusts. That is why the Utah state bird is the seagull.
All right, listen, so it was story time with Ray there, but it was real. That's pretty amazing. Look, I'm looking at the state symbols. You got some fun ones here, okay?
Yeah.
So the state astronomical symbol, which is a thing, beehive cluster located in the constellation of Cancer, the crab. Now they also have the this thing here. The nickname is the Beehive State. So this is Utah. You could right or wrong here. You could show the Blue Jackets.
Yeah,
how to
Utah
do this correctly.
Hornets. The Utah Hornets.
You could have some. Well, just the Utah Bees would be fun too. With the Yellow Jackets, They won't do that. Here's another one. The official official state cooking pot.
Oh my God!
Ray, it's gonna make you laugh when I tell you the state cooking pot is the Dutch oven.
Oh my God! Oh my God! The Utah Dutch oven. We're coming out. Oh my God! We're coming after you. Is the Dutch oven.
Oh my God! By the way, the state animal.
We're gonna stick the place up.
State animal is the Rocky Mountain elk. There's state folk dance is the square dance. Can't do that. State fruit is the cherry. I don't think that's going to work either.
No.
Then the last one here is the state tree is the Quaking aspen. So maybe the Utah quake.
I think people that would be.
Yeah, I mean, kind of like the avalanche. I mean, I think people try and stay away from that word, but
I think that's not bad.
Here's another one: state rock. If I say state rock to you, what comes to mind? What kind of things come to mind? I say rock,
rock. Well, the rock, obviously, but also, I mean, like volcanic rock, and
like the different types of rock. Well, their state rock is coal.
Coal. I don't.
The Utah Miners.
There you go. That could be interesting.
I'm put my money on the Utah Dutch oven.
That's the one.
Hey, your mind can go wherever you want with that. That's what it says here on Wikipedia. That first off, the state cooking pot, didn't know that was a thing. But you got to have a lot of coal to say that the Dutch oven Is your steak cooking pot. Utah, we wish you the best.
Wow. No, looking
Right,
forward
right.
to the Coyotes moving to Utah.
Have you noticed anything about what I'm wearing today on my head?
Yeah, no, I know you had the Philly City Connect baseball caps. The only good
hat
thing
is
about those
awesome.
uniforms,
That's
the
the
hat
hat
is
is
awesome.
awesome.
The
And
hat
that's
is
it.
awesome.
That's it. They wore them the other
The
day.
uniforms are awful.
I just wanted to make that. So yeah,
Bryce
Bryce
Harper actually wore an old uniform the other day.
I saw that. We all saw that because his nameplate was legible.
Yeah, yeah. Fanatics, I don't know. You have screwed this up so badly.
Yeah,
Like,
they have.
I mean, oh gosh. Fortunately, this isn't going to be his legacy, but you know who screws up a lot lately the last few years?
Who?
John Sterling, for the New York Yankees. He's got a lot on TikTok, kind of poking fun at him. A lot of it is high, it is far, it is. That's caught at the warning track. A lot of that the last couple of years from
just
John.
a bit outside.
Yeah. So, but he has been the voice of the Yankees for the last 36 years. He has called 49% of all Yankee playoff games all time. Of course, that is partially because there are many more rounds of the playoffs now than there were way back when, than with Mel Allen and all the greats, Phil Rizzuto and whatnot. But he has been the voice of the Yankees for 36 years. And yesterday, there had been rumors that he was going to retire soon, probably at the end of this year, but very suddenly the Yankees announced that he's retiring effective immediately. They will have a ceremony on Saturday. I imagine they were going to put a plaque of his in Monument Park, much like they did with Bob Shepard and, again, Mal Allen and many of the other great broadcasters have their own plaques from back in the day in Monument Park. There's going to be a ceremony on Saturday. I'm sure he'll get some sort of golden microphone that both Lee and I also happen to have, not from the Yankees, but we have golden microphones.
That's what we do have golden microphones. I got to find mine.
Yes.
Probably
mine's
my
right over there.
House.
Yes, but so congratulations to John Sterling on a great career, and for him,
yes.
We will say the Yankees win.
Yankees win. I'll even do that with you today because I remember listening to those calls when they won the World Series with you guys in college.
Yes.
So that one of the great win calls in the world. I'll give him that.
Yeah, no, for sure. So, so he's retired. He's retiring, and it's end of an era.
It is, and God bless him. Really, like anybody who gets to the broadcast booth that long. Yeah. I mean, Ray and I have studied the craft of broadcasting, obviously. And when you have someone that's done it that long, it's tough to think about technology when they started. But most of these guys were kids that couldn't play or just loved the game, and they got behind a microphone at a time when no one else would do it.
Yeah.
And they create these unbelievably iconic careers where now we can all get behind a microphone. I mean, you could have any idea like, hey, Geeks in Sports, we should do a show. And you can do it. You can just do it. Right?
Do it. That's it.
You know what I mean?
Get a microphone and do it.
Like you could do a show, Ray. Like, let's just say you were in like your really, really early 30s, like within a week of that. And just be like, hey, I want to watch the whole Attitude Era with someone who's never watched the Attitude Era before. And you can make a whole podcast about that. That's highly entertaining and fun to watch. You should watch it. It's called the New to Wrestling Podcast with our good friend Xavier, who's actually behind our podcast today. Check that out. But Ray, I am helping you transition for a reason here.
Oh,
the New to Wrestling Podcast has been on your playlist.
That's right. It is. Yes, the New to Wrestling Podcast is fantastic. And I will say this: if you're new to wrestling, I'll tell you this: don't watch AEW. Just stick with WWE because it is. Now I want to say something, folks. I've been an AEW fan from almost the get-go.
I will back you up. You've been very, very positive about that group.
When Dynamite began airing in October of 2019, I found it in December of 2019, and it has been part of my DVR. At the very least, I have watched almost every single episode of the last 5 years. And after last week's Dynamite, I deleted it from my DVR schedule.
Wow.
I am done with AEW. And it's amazing. In 8 months, this company went from being a legit threat to WWE to being a laughing stock, to being where people are calling it the next WCW, who also had like a great 5-year run there and then went off the rails. The inmates are running the asylum in the worst ways possible. And Tony Khan, who, and you might have to bleep this in post, Zabi, is a billionaire nepo baby bitch. Okay,
do it one more time, Red. But I mean, I'll do it at the end here. Go ahead.
Okay,
he's a what?
He is a billionaire nepo baby bitch. Okay,
Did I do it? I did it. I think I did.
There we go.
Did you say bitch on the air?
I did.
I said a whole curse word earlier. You just said the word bitch. That's not horrible.
I mean, I don't like, the thing is everything's very fluid now. Like, there's
Boy
very
Scout.
few. It used to be that definitely used to be bleeped on air earlier in our youth. Nowadays, that might get by. That might slide by.
That would 100% get by.
So, okay, great.
I mean, The Rock said the F word on live television.
That's true. He wasn't supposed to do that, by
the
way.
No, it was hilarious. Only in Philadelphia can you pull that off.
Yes, exactly. But, yeah, no. So, I mean, because here's the thing is that Tony Khan, again, for those of you who don't know, before WrestleMania last week, CM Punk did an interview, and it was a very candid interview talking about his time at AEW, and he basically said, look, Tony Khan's a very nice guy, but he's a clown. This is what happens when you're a fan and you try too hard to be friends with the boys, with the wrestlers, right? You can't make the tough calls and the tough decisions. And he basically went into talking about at Wembley last year, which was an 81,000 seat, sellout crowd at Wembley. It's a big, big deal, not just for AEW, but for wrestling in general in England last year. And before CM Punk went out for his match with Samoa Joe, Jungle Boy Jack Perry, the son of Beverly Hills 90210's Luke Perry, who has now passed away. His son, Jack Perry's a wrestler at AEW, now in New Japan because he had to be let go or suspended for this, where basically Perry wanted to do a spot in his match involving real glass. CM Punk and several others behind the scene were like, no, you don't understand. You have to use gimmicked glass. You have to. You're an idiot. You risk so much injury to yourself to use real glass. It's not worth it, right? Perry didn't want to listen to anybody, Tony Schiavone, any of the veterans. And finally they went to Punk, and Punk was like, no, you're an idiot. Don't do this. Perry went out, used real glass anyway.
Ugh, stupid.
Fortunately, no one was hurt, right? But he turned right to the camera. And again, as fans, none of us would have known this. We only know this after the fact. But Perry turns right to the camera and goes, real glass. Obviously, that's a shot at Punk. Obviously, that's a shot at the guys who told him no. He goes back into the locker room. And by the way, everybody that I've heard, Bully Ray Dudley, a lot of guys talking about Schuster, that Jack Perry's a jackass, right? That's what the Jack stands for. He's a jackass. He's a snot-nosed punk kid who thinks that because of who his daddy was famous, has probably gotten away with everything for his entire life, thinks that he can basically stick it to a bunch of veteran wrestlers.
That's just like, if there's like 5 things you don't do, and there's
right,
you know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, what do you look? Even the legendary wrestlers wouldn't do that.
No, exactly. So he goes backstage. Punk goes up to him. They start talking. Perry says something. Punk pushes Perry and then puts him in a chokehold for like 3 seconds. And I can tell you this with confirmation, not just because Punk told us what would happen, but AEW then revealed the locker room footage
which
this
is amazing.
past week.
That's pretty funny when you think about it.
Was terrible. It's amazing, but it's also terrible because all you've done is validate everything Punk said.
Right.
And then Samoa Joe separated it. Malachi Black was there, and then Punk goes over to Tony Khan and basically says what he said. He's called him a clown, and he quit basically on the spot. He did his last match, and that was it. Tony Khan, here's why this is so bad for wrestling. First off, you're airing your dirty laundry, which is never good. And to Lee's point, a lot of times we don't know what happens in a locker room.
Yeah, it's true.
But in this case, we now know exactly what happened, and it's not nearly as bad as you made it out to be. Because when you have that much testosterone, when you have that many big personalities, when you have that kind of a show going on, and Lee, please correct me if I'm wrong, but sometimes tempers are going to flare.
100%. Probably every week, honestly. Like, it's not a one-time thing.
Yeah. And you know what? Yeah, Punk put him in a chokehold for a couple of seconds just to kind of show, don't mess with me, because I know, not just because I know what I'm talking about, not just because I'm a veteran, but because I will whoop your ass. And then they were separated. They were separated, and that was it. And then Perry was like, what did I do? What did I do? Because you're a moron. That's what you did. Like,
yeah, that's simple.
And now you've made Punk over. Punk is now more over in a company he doesn't even work for anymore than any of your other wrestlers. Because instead of Tony Khan, who's like, I feared for my life in that moment, further proving that, again, another guy who has never been in a fight, never been in a scrap, never been in a real locker room, right? Like, the yellow stripe down your backside is ridiculous. As Xavier puts in, all while PM Punk, by the way, he was on Punk was in WrestleMania, Monday Night Raw, and AEW Dynamite all in the same week. That's some Rick Rude shit right there. Like that's a geek reference, by the way. Where to show that Monday Night Raw used to be taped, even though they claimed we're alive, and then Rick Rude appeared on both Raw and WCW Monday Night Nitro in the same night.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah. So this is just terrible. This is just terrible. It's terrible business. It has the storyline is terrible around it. It makes no sense. And it just shows that Tony Khan doesn't know what he's doing as a booker.
No,
this is awful. And then also, by the way, then you also have later on in the show, Will Ospreay, your huge free agent signing, which, by the way, they've all admitted it. Okada, who they got from New Japan, Mercedes Moné, used to be Sasha Banks, Will Ospreay, they basically all admitted it. They went to AEW for the money. They went for the money and the soft schedule, which sounds like every WWE wrestler who left WWE for WCW in the mid-90s. And again, we all know how that ends. It does not end well. So so Triple H went on the Pat McAfee show and very calmly was like, if people don't want to be at WWE because they don't want to deal with the schedule, they don't want to deal with it. We don't need them. We don't need them. The people who are here want to be here.
That's true. And
we have the best wrestlers in the world. And Will Ospreay took offense to that because he thought that was a shot at him. Which, again, we would not have known if you didn't talk about it on air. Will Ospreay comes out and he's like, bruv, you're talking about my schedule, bruv, about me going back and forth to England and all this other stuff, bruv. I'm the aerial assassin, bruv. I didn't have to boink the boss's wife to get my job. Bruv. Will Ospreay, go back to Japan, go back to London. I don't care. I was so ready to be on board with you. And now you guys are you are the crybaby show. I don't want to watch crybaby wrestling.
I would like to
cry me a river.
Personally apologize to all of our English listeners that had to hear that horrible English accent that Ray was doing. But I think it was there to add to the flavor of his annoyance. He doesn't mean anything by it, my bruvs.
I am not insulting Londoners. I love England.
I love it.
But Will Ospreay who I was ready to be a big fan of because he is phenomenal in the ring. But you rubbed me the wrong way this week, bruv.
Well, let me chime in here.
Yes.
Little wrestling history. And again, our producer today, Xavier, huge wrestling fan. You can comment in the chat too, Savi, if you want.
Yeah, Xavier, tell me stop me if I'm telling lies, Xavier. Stop me if I'm telling anything wrong.
Here's as the oldest member of this show. No, listen. Let's look at this macro again, okay? When do wrestling federations fail? WCW's business got out into the ring, got out in the open, they failed. AEW's business got outside of the room and got in the ring. It failed. WWE had the largest scandals in the history of wrestling ever. One was worse than the Vince McMahon one.
Yeah.
Okay. It doesn't bleed into the ring ever.
Yep.
All right. And they just Vince McMahon accidentally gave AEW a killing blow.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like to dish it out to WWE. Not, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And the WWE reversed it and gave them a Mortal Kombat uppercut for the fatality. Right? So this is good just for anybody in business, right? If you let your internal struggles bleed out, you are gonna fail or be in deep shit.
Yeah.
The public does not need to see that, number one. Number two, and this is why I'm so impressed with the WWE. The illusion must stay intact.
Yeah.
Now, somehow, this speaks to the brilliance of Paul Levesque and Triple H and The Rock and everybody there. Somehow, they have kept the illusion intact while also inviting you to understand how they develop the illusion. But you will never see behind the curtain completely.
No.
And when you do that, you fail. And I think WCW has proven that.
Yep.
I think that AEW is proving that.
Yeah.
Right. And then you can look at the other side of it. ECW didn't do that, and look where they got.
Yeah.
Right. So am I wrong, Ray, with anything I'm saying? Like every wrestling federation that's failed has done that.
Yeah, I mean, ECW. It just couldn't compete. A lot of the guys were being poached by WWE, and there's other things with ECW. But yeah, this is exactly. And you could Tony Schiavone on air, like one of the commentators, when the footage aired, you just saw him shaking his head because he's like, "How did I get myself in this situation again 25 years later?" It is exactly like WCW's garbage. And Xavier says it in chat. WWE runs as a business. They fail sometimes, and they move on immediately. AEW takes everything personally because, again, the owner at the top takes everything personally. And that's the problem. And then, look, AEW might continue because, again, Tony Khan is a billionaire.
Right, it's like the James Dolan of wrestling.
Right, exactly. So he could keep on bleeding money into this if he wants. But at some point, he's going to realize that it's a losing battle. Because here's the other thing. They didn't pop a rating for doing all this garbage. Their numbers were exactly the same as they were a month prior. This is a bad sign. I almost called them WCW. AEW might as well.
Yeah.
Is in trouble.
They're in trouble.
And as me, as somebody who has spent money on t-shirts, who has spent money on going to a pay-per-view here in Los Angeles, as somebody who has watched every week and spent money on pay-per-views from home, I'm off board.
Well, and I'm going to tell you this, Ray. This is what I think Triple H is going to do with this, who's basically in charge of everything now, is where Vince McMahon's kind of mission was to buy them out and merge them all. Mm-hmm. I believe that Triple H is going to allow AEW to exist just to remind everyone this is what could happen if you're not careful. And again, our tune 2 years ago was very different about all of this, right? But this speaks to the brilliance of these people at the WWE right now, that, sometimes you do need to be reminded that this isn't the best option, right? Yep. We're the best option. He's been very upfront about that, sometimes to the point of annoyance. They are trolling them now with their discount codes. All WWE.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So I think it's smart to let AEW I don't want to say die on the vine, but let it suffer. They're
giving them all the rope to hang themselves. That's all it is.
Savi, our producer, could you give us a thumbs up or thumbs down in the chat? We're going old Roman style. Thumbs up means you let AEW survive. Thumbs down means it has to die. This is your vote. We want to know what you think at home. Savi is patiently thinking. I'm watching him on the screen.
Yeah, does Triple H have to put any more pressure on them to twist the knife, or are they basically going to do it to themselves?
This is cool for those of you listening. I can watch our producer in real time having to think about what we're saying. This is broadcasting in 2024, my friend.
Yes, this is podcasting.
It's podcasting with Ray and Lee while we wait his answer. Actually,
Xavier, they don't need the push. They don't need the push. They'll do it to themselves.
They're walking off the cliff. Ray, are we switching to the geek side now?
Yeah, we are switching to the geek side.
Oh, well then enjoy this clip if you're watching.
All right. Open your eyes.
Blaine! Jack!
Ray, I know what I'm going to do with that clip. You don't.
No, I don't.
So I just want you to know that I appreciate you trusting me with that every week. And for those of you listening, we're sharing these on our Facebook group, Geeks Who Like Sports. You should check them out. They're really, really funny. You can probably hear them on the audio, but you got to see them and be part of the group.
There you go. So,
Ray, we're talking about.
So speaking of things dying, maybe.
Speaking of things that are unbelievable, maybe.
Yes.
Man, X-Men 97 is the best thing Marvel has done in a long time. I was saying that before the episode we're about to talk about.
Episode 5.
Episode 5 of X-Men 97 is a top 5 for me all time show or movie now in Marvel. And it's only going to get better, I think.
Yeah, it's gosh, where to
Spoiler
start?
alert, if you haven't seen it somehow.
Yeah, I mean,
Watch it.
again, this is based on the comics, but they went even a step farther than what they did in the comics, which gives me so many ideas of what they could do. But basically, they've been talking about the first few episodes about the mutant nation of Genosha joining the UN. Genosha, obviously, this haven for mutants. There's 16 million mutants on this fictional island off the coast of Africa, and they want Magneto to come and lead them into the promised land and lead them into the next stage of mutant prosperity. And again, this happened in the comics. It's E is for extinction. And they've been talking about this with the titles for the last 3 episodes, possibly of this series, this season. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Wild Sentinels. We have Wild Sentinels. For those who don't know what this is, again, there's just so much to unpack here. I don't know where. Again, by the way, spoiler. It has been a week. By the time this episode airs, episode 6 will have aired. So we're talking about episode 5. All the mutants are dead, folks. All the Genosha's been obliterated by the Wild Sentinel. Magneto is dead. Gambit is dead, which didn't happen in the comics, at least here. He does die and come back, but that's a different story. But he dies here. Madeline Pryor, they're teasing her joining the Hellfire Club, which happened in the comics. We had a Glob Herman sighting, which was fun.
Multiple sightings.
Nightcrawler's back. It looks great, by the way. I mean, we had Cable show up. They used Ace of Base from 1997 for one of the songs. I mean, folks, I can't believe they went there. This happened in the comics, not the Ace of Base part, but this happened in the comics. And
I love that you qualified that.
Right, but this happened in the comics where they destroyed Genosha. It's an extinction. It's a genocide. It's the mutant genocide. And they went there on Disney Plus. And again, for those who know, the Wild Sentinels are a creation of Cassandra Nova, who is Professor Xavier, not our producer, the actual Professor Xavier's evil mutant twin sister.
Yeah, well, they're probably going to explore that in the show for those of you listening here.
And the reason why we believe that they're going to do that is because she's also been confirmed to be the villain in Deadpool and Wolverine this summer.
Yeah.
There are so many chances for crossovers. There's so many chances for multiverse. We've already got Cable time skipping back and forth all over the place. And the Wild Sentinels are crazy because they're basically, the reason why they have 3 heads is it's almost impossible to kill them unless you do what Gambit did, which is basically sacrifice himself and blow up every single scrap piece of them, because they basically amalgamate, they absorb any metal around them. That's why you have 3 Sentinel heads on like a spider body. It's insane. It's amazing. I can't believe they went there.
Yeah, and I'm just going to read some of these names of other characters who died in this episode, aside from Gambit and Magneto. And there's other things we have to unpack about this episode too, Ray. But this is confirmed too. Dazzler is dead. Sebastian Shaw is dead. Moira McTaggart is dead.
Yeah.
All right. And several more, right? Here's the thing for everybody listening. Now, what's going to happen, right? Little kind of side prediction here. We saw Cable come in and say, hey, we have to stop something from happening. So it's pretty obvious they're going to reverse everything at some point in the show and everybody's going to come back to life. Moira McTaggart dying is pretty important because she has strong ties to Xavier, kind of dooming the world without Xavier for real now, or if you will, we'll see what happens with that. The other thing too, huge Easter egg in the show that several people missed. The Watcher is clearly present right at the start of this scene. I do not know if they're going to tie that into What If, or if they're going to tie that into the larger story. He also appeared in that little Groot series. But I thought it was a very curious thing that you knew something was going to happen.
Yeah.
Because you could see the Watcher in the sky.
I missed it the first time.
You have to watch this a few times. Listen, Ray, I'm not exaggerating this. I wish there was a camera on me. My jaw was dropped to the point that I stepped outside of myself. And I remember saying, like, dude, your jaw is dropped to myself. But it was unbelievable. It was an Infinity War level moment in terms of like the snap or the blip, whatever you want to call it. The other thing too is that I love the inclusion of Cable because I don't know how I would have felt if I hadn't seen that happen in the episode. It basically says, "I'm sorry, Mom," to
Madeline Pryor.
Thank you. Just amazing storytelling. Now, right, to go back to what you said at the beginning, to have the guts to do this, they could never have pulled this off in the 90s, number one.
Yeah.
Okay. Number two is the risk. I don't, I always go back to the behind the scenes, the risk of putting a wild sentinel, like, which people don't know what that is, and just to trust the audience to just go with it.
Yeah.
To create a massive genocide.
Yeah.
All right. Like, that's what this is, which speaks to the larger world, which X-Men always has. This episode should win an award.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing. And then the guys come out afterwards and say kind of casually, "Oh yeah, we're just getting started. If you like that, just wait till you see what happens." I'm like, what's going to happen now? It's like,
I mean, we've got 5 more episodes left in the season. We also know a season 2 is in the can. Like, there's
And my quick prediction, Ray, is the next episode will be about Storm, obviously, and getting her powers back.
Storm's going to get her powers back, but then you're going to deal with Adversary, and if they do what they do there in the comics, it's crazy. For her to get her powers back and to beat Adversary, the X-Men all have to kill themselves.
Well, and
they get brought back by a god, but that's a whole different thing.
We also know that Sinister is playing a huge role in this whole thing too.
Yes.
So the other thing I'll say though is
that's
this.
My other thing. Hold on, wait. Never mind Sinister. What if because they killed Gambit? What if because they killed Gambit, which doesn't happen here? But you know who? One of the times that Gambit dies, Apocalypse.
That's true.
And they've already teased Apocalypse with the joke with Wolverine.
What is it, Apocalypse?
Jean Grey. He's like, he's coming. What? Who? Apocalypse? It's like, no, the baby, you idiot! It's like one of the greatest jokes ever. But what if they do that to plant the seed? Hey, Apocalypse is lurking somewhere. Anyways,
look. The best shows are the ones we don't know where they're going. We don't know quite where this is going. And again, I think the next episode will take place with Storm, and I think it's going to take place during episode 5. And it will. My guess is we'll end with the genocide of Genosha and her going, "I have to get back to New York" or something like that.
Yeah.
Because brilliant move to, by the way, take her out of the picture in the beginning because she's so powerful. Look. I'm going to say it again what I said at the beginning. It's one of the greatest episodes of television I've ever seen in my life. Masterful storytelling within 33 minutes, I believe it was.
Yeah.
It's so hard to do that, and they've done it. And while maintaining the integrity of literally every character in the show. I mean, and then, Cyclops even going nuts in the show. We didn't even talk about that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Cyclops getting interviewed and going off about, the reason why he needs to be interviewed in the first place is to try to make people feel like they're normal. Like, it's just, unbelievable. So much going on. Yeah. So many different threads at the same time being pulled and just being done so brilliantly. And you mentioned it earlier that Professor Xavier is not around. But now is this what prompts him to come back with the sheet from the CR? Especially if it is Cassandra Nova, his evil twin sister. There's just so much here.
There's a season 2 already greenlit. So either this season's going to end on a huge cliffhanger, or it's going to end with the X-Men coming back together to face a new threat.
Yeah.
Right. Which is my guess is it's going to happen. I think they've even been greenlit for a 3rd season. I'm not. I
think they were working on the 3rd season. Yeah. When
just brilliant. And here's the thing. It's funny. I hear these little buzzes of those cartoons from the 90s. Guys, in Japan, they've been doing this for years for adults. It's about time we caught up.
Yep.
And by the way, a lot of borrowed, I'll say anime in this episode. Like when Gambit is held up in front of the Wild Sentinel.
Yeah.
It's straight out of Japanese anime. I was thinking that when I was watching that. So, also coolest death scene ever, I think.
Yep.
I mean, I'm not going to repeat what he said, but I was like, that was boss.
Yeah.
Kids, boss is what we used to say in the middle years to be cool.
Yeah.
Those of you who watch this show know because we're all old. Anyway, I'm going to say one more time. I think it might have been, if you're going to put the top 5 Marvel things I've ever seen, it's in there.
It's in there.
Along with Infinity War.
Yep.
Probably Avengers Assemble and Endgame would make that. It was a pretty amazing moment. I'm not going to ever downplay that.
Mm-hmm.
But beyond that, by the way, Captain America grabbing Thor's hammer, that's all part of Endgame, what I'm saying here. That entire scene counts. This episode counts. Infinity War counts. What else would you put there? I mean, probably Spider-Man and something within Spider-Man.
Yeah.
MCU. We're talking modern MCU. I mean, No Way Home was pretty fun at the end there. I'm not gonna lie to
Yeah.
you. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And aside from that, I don't know. I mean, Iron Man 1.
I was gonna say maybe the first Iron Man just
Yeah.
because it kicked everything off.
Well,
like,
just him blowing up the tank and walking away is always like it's every dad's dream is
Yeah.
to be able to do something like that. Usually, though, for a dad, it's like you change the diaper and you walk away and there's an explosion. But that's for another show. And then we were gifted with more geekdom stuff this week.
Yeah, couple of late breaking stories. If you haven't heard, there was Tales of the Jedi, right on Disney Plus, which was a bunch of Star Wars related.
It was fantastic. It was fantastic. You can watch them all in a few hours. They're just great.
And now they've announced coming May the 4th, Saturday, May 4th, Tales of the Empire, which looks like it's going to explore Morgan Elsbeth's background as a Night Stalker and how she became part of all of this. And Lee, I have a surprise for you.
You have a surprise for me.
I finally watched 2 more episodes of Ahsoka. Wait. So I have watched episode 5 now.
Did you go past that or just that?
I have not gotten. I didn't have time. I watched 2 episodes, which is 2 hours.
So you okay? Well, look, I'm not.
So I saw
tell me
fight Anakin and all that, and go through her background. Right now I have ended with her in the whale's mouth, the Purgle's mouth.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
but tell me what you think.
It was all right.
Oh, come on, Ray. It was awesome, and you know it. Don't do that. You know that was awesome. Episode 5 was awesome.
The fight was good. It was great. I liked that you could hear literally her basically fighting for if she's fighting to be if she's going to join the Force, right, like Anakin and Obi-Wan and all of them did when they died, or if she's going to stick around. She's fighting for her.
She was in purgatory, basically.
Yeah, she was basically in purgatory,
fighting Anakin, and right, where he can exist. By the way,
right.
But the brilliance of that, going back to this episode, is in the plane of existence they were in. Transforms Star Wars, and this is the big point I wanted to make with you months ago when this happened, is that because they exist in that plane, and plus they've established that plane in a canon way, they could essentially change things or redo things in a really convincing way. Yeah. Right. So I really loved that they went there. They put that into live action, and the interactions between Hayden Christensen and Rosario Dawson were awesome.
They were fantastic.
It was an awesome episode.
It was a very well acted scene. Especially, I actually think even the better ones though was Child Ahsoka with Anakin.
Yeah, who was also Gamora in Kid Gamora in Endgame. Yes. She's been in a few different things.
I was gonna say at some point she will age out of being a child.
Yeah, but I mean, come on, man, you enjoyed that.
Yes,
thank you. Okay,
it was fine. You might have built it up a little bit too much.
I don't think I did. I think anybody watching the show that loves Star Wars watched that and was like, "No, Lee, you're right."
You'll have to remember, I'm just not a big Ahsoka fan, right?
Okay, I can see that, but knowing who she is and understanding what she means to people, you can see why everybody loved that episode. Not to mention Hayden Christensen just kind of getting his groove back.
Yes.
Yeah,
no. So it was fun.
Thank you. And it gets very dark when you find out where they're going in the Purgle's mouth.
I will finish season 1 now. I don't know. I know they're making a season 2. I don't know if I will watch season 2, depending on how season 1 ends. Yeah. Again, I'm just not a huge Ahsoka person. We talked about this when I started watching it, and I just fell off with it because I'm like, I really wished that Shin had killed Sabine in that first episode because I find her annoying.
Yeah, Sabine's not going anywhere. But yes,
I miss Ezra. I miss Ezra. I get it.
It was a slow start, but that episode made it worth it. And again,
the saddest part about Ahsoka is now we're not going to get any more Lord Balin because of poor Ray Stevenson passing. He's the best. To me, he's the best part of.
Yeah, he's not going to disappear. I don't think because you got to keep watching the show. I can't tell you anything else, but that's not a possibility. The character will remain. I'll put it that way.
The character may remain, but unfortunately, the actor has passed.
Yes, that's very true. But yes, on May the 4th, may the 4th be with you. Perfect.
Tales of the Empire. Morgan Elsbeth and more her story.
And several other people within the Imperial time period, which I love because
more Inquisitors and whatnot. So
real quick one before we move on to other Disney Plus stuff. A friend of mine, longtime friend, watched the first 6 Star Wars films, first time ever. Watched 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, and she asked me, "Well, what do I watch next?" And it's like I said, Rogue One.
Yeah,
that's what you watch next.
Yes.
And she's like, "Do I watch the sequels?" I said, Rogue One's what you watch.
Watch
And then
Rogue
I said
One.
there's like 4 other things you're going to watch before you watch any of those sequels. Okay.
Yes.
I'd rather you watch Solo, which was not a bad film.
It wasn't a bad film. A lot of people gave that poor guy who played young Han Solo.
It was a fun movie. I don't know why people hated it so much.
Yeah. I don't get it.
Anyway, Disney Plus going to add some channels, Ray.
Yeah. Oh God, this is what is old is new again.
New is old. Yeah, of course.
Disney Plus deciding, I think this is official now, that they're going to add 24/7 channels to Disney Plus that you can just click to, and there will be something playing, just like it used to be in the old days.
Like on cable.
Yeah,
I don't get it.
What a concept, Lee. They're going to make the Disney Channel.
No.
What a concept!
It is pretty funny when you think about this. And what's going to be funny, Ray, is there's a whole generation of children now built on streaming. They're going to be like, live streaming?
They're not gonna, yeah, I know.
They're going to stream things live. Oh, Dad, it's going to be on all the time.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And you're even going to have your news channels. You're going to have your ABC. You're going to have like everything else. You're going to have your ESPN. It's just like
what this is, Ray. We talked about this years ago. I'm gonna pat myself in the back. Predicted this, that there are going to be 3 to 5 winners in the stream wars that will control everything. Yep. And part of your streaming is going to be cable. And I'll be honest with you, I am live sports away from getting off YouTube TV or any form of additional cable.
That's all we
if
need.
Someone carries my local sports teams, I'm gone.
I mean, the fact of the matter that I get the Rangers now through Disney Plus and ESPN Plus through that bundle.
Yeah.
It's
the local networks that are killing it because you're in LA, you can get the Rangers out there. I can't get the Flyers unless I have my local TV.
Right, because of all the blackout rules and stuff.
Right. So when that's gone, and it's not, days are numbered.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be really it's 100%, and it's honestly it's the way it should be. It's the way it should be.
It's the way it should be. It's just like
I mean, it's why Disney. We talked about this a few months ago. It's why Disney gave Comcast all that money to get the rest of Hulu. Now Disney will 100% own Hulu. It's why they did that. Like, this is the way things are going.
Yep.
It's what is old is new again. And like you said, yeah, it's going to be 3 to 5 companies, maybe 6. But even that now, that if Paramount and Warner Brothers merges, like there you go. That's CBS and WB.
Yeah, it's all going to come into one thing, and it's going to be conglomerates among. It's just like magazines used to be. It's not different. They're following the same models. This isn't new. The technology is changing. Our ability to use it. I've been saying this for decades. Technology evolves faster than we do.
How we can see it's how we consume it changes, but it's all the content itself.
Yes, and they have still figured out a way to get $150 out of you a month.
Unbelievable. It's unbelievable. But you know what else is unbelievable? You know, we mentioned Hayden Christensen. We talked about the rumor that Christensen was a possible front runner for Shadow the Hedgehog.
Whoa.
But then I guess somebody saw all the John Wick movies and was like, John Wick uses a lot of guns.
Whoa.
And Shadow the Hedgehog.
John Wick uses a lot of guns.
And Shadow the Hedgehog uses a lot of guns, at least in that one game. Keanu Reeves, it is now official, has been cast as the voice of Shadow the Hedgehog. I wonder if him and Idris Elba have the same agent because they just did Cyberpunk together.
They did.
Video game. And now they're doing this voice work together.
I wonder if Chris Pratt is upset that he didn't get another VO gig.
We are more than thrilled that Pratt is not Shadow the Hedgehog.
He's everybody right now. No, look, I think this is a great pick. This is a really great pick. As much as I love Hayden Christensen, Keanu Reeves is a much better pick for Shadow the Hedgehog. He has a much better voice for this. He's done it before. You can hear it already. I can hear his voice as Shadow, and it's perfect.
Yeah, I mean, somebody took clips of John Wick and just put Shadow over them, and it's like,
yep.
Yeah, they asking me if I'm back. You think I'm back? I think I'm back. Like, you know,
like keep asking me if I'm back, and I'm thinking, yeah,
I'm back.
I'm back. It's a great pick. It's a great pick. One of the greatest turnaround stories in history is this the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise.
Yes.
And then and remember the what's it called? The Knuckles show is coming out soon too. So
Knuckles, the show will drop in a couple of weeks. Yeah, actually, I'm going to actually have a lot of TV to watch. I have to.
Yeah, that should be fun.
I will actually finally finish Ahsoka this week. I will.
Yeah,
and then
let me know what you think it's got. Look, the Ahsoka storyline has just larger implications on Star Wars, and you got to remember too that it's being the Mandoverse, right? Like it's all floating into the Mandalorian. So it's like, that's why I'm like saying to you, hey, you should probably watch, man, because like you're gonna get lost in a film or something like that if you don't.
Yeah. So I will finish Ahsoka, and then I have to go watch Fallout, and then in a couple of weeks we'll have the Knuckles.
I've heard great things about Fallout too.
I've heard amazing things about Fallout. I really do want to watch it. I do think they made a mistake dropping it all at once. A lot of folks are complaining about that now.
Yeah, they're always going to complain. I mean, look, also Invincible season 2 is out completely now too.
I have to watch that too.
Not as good as season 1, but continues the story in a fun way.
And that's been greenlit now. I think up to 4 seasons. I think they
announced
that today.
It's one of those things that's going to be tough to end it because it doesn't really end. But
or 5
I like where they've gone with it. They left it on. They left this season on like we'll be back kind of feeling, and I was like, great,
right. 5. It's been Invincible has been renewed for seasons 4 and 5.
Wow.
So they will have at least 5 seasons. Hopefully, they do not take as long as season 2 did. But again, that also has to do with the fact the way they're animating it and the way they're doing it. And they're doing a great job.
It's very R-rated. Yes.
Yeah. So, that's going to do it for the show.
That's good. We got a great matchup coming up on Saturday. Check it out.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
Topic is what fictional beast would make the best team name. Thank you to the Utah Dutch Ovens for that one.
Yes, the Utah Seagulls. We appreciate that. Yeah, that's gonna be a lot of fun. A lot of fun on Saturday with that matchup. But yeah, until then, we really appreciate everybody for tuning in as always. Whether you're listening or watching or any of that other fun stuff, wherever, whenever, it's always appreciated. But for Lee, I'm Ray, Professor Xavier. You can't see him, but he's behind the scenes doing his job, and we appreciate it. And until next time, this has been Geeks Who Like Sports. Good night, everybody.